Good morning. I hope you all are good and safe. Today in this video we are going to read chapter number 3 of our English course book, The English Coach. Name of the chapter is The Flight. This chapter is the part of original book The Boxcar Children, written by Gertrude Chandler Warner. Before I start reading this chapter, just have a look about this author. Gertrude Chandler Warner was a well-known American author of children's literature. She liked to read and write at a young age and wanted to be an author from the time she was 5 years old. She became famous for her original book, The Boxcar Children, and for the 18 sequels for this series that she subsequently wrote. Warner was a lover of nature. While growing up, she had butterfly and moth collections, pressed wildflowers, learned about all the birds in her area, and enjoyed gardening. She used these interests to develop nature themes in her books. Now let's start with the reading of this chapter. About 7 o'clock one hot summer evening, a strange family moved into the little village of Middlesex. Nobody knew where they came from or who they were, but the neighbors soon made up their minds what they thought of the strangers, for the father was very drunk. He could hardly walk up the rickety front steps of the old tumble-down house, so his 13-year-old son had to help him. Toward 8 o'clock, a pretty, capable-looking girl of 12 came out of the house and bought a loaf of bread at the baker's. That was all the villagers learned about the newcomers that night. "There are 4 children," said the baker shop woman to her husband the next day, "and their mother is dead. They must have some money, for the girl paid for the bread with a dollar bill." "Make them pay for everything they get," growled the baker, who was a hard man. "The father is nearly dead with drinks now, and soon they will be beggars." This happened sooner than he thought. The next day, the oldest boy and girl came to ask the bake shop woman to come over. Their father was dead. She went over willingly enough, for someone had to go. But it was clear that she couldn't be bothered with 4 strange children, with a bakery on her hands and 2 children of her own. "Haven't you any other folks?" she asked the children. "We have a grandfather in Greenfield," spoke up the youngest child before his sister could clap her hand over his mouth. "Hush, Bunny," she said anxiously. "What is the matter with your grandfather?" the baker shop woman asked suspiciously. "He doesn't like us," replied the oldest boy reluctantly. "He did not want my father to marry my mother. If he found us, he would treat us cruelly." "Did you ever see him?" "Jess has. Once she saw him." "Well, did he treat you cruelly?" the woman asked Jess. "Oh, he didn't see me," replied Jess. "He was just passing through where we used to live, and my father pointed him out to me." "Where did you used to live?" went on the questioner. None of the children replied. "We will get along all right alone, won't we, Henry?" declared Jess. "Indeed we will," said Henry. "I will stay in the house with you tonight," said the woman finally. "Tomorrow we will see what can be done." The 4 children slept in the kitchen and gave the visitor the only other bed in the house. She did not at once go to bed, but sat by the window in the dark. Suddenly, they heard her talking to her husband through the open window. "They must go to their grandfather, that is certain," Jess heard her say. "Of course," agreed her husband. "Tomorrow we will make them tell us his name." Soon after that, Jess and Henry heard her snoring heavily. They sat up in the dark. "Mustn't we surely run away?" whispered Jess in Henry's ear. "Yes," whispered Henry. "Take only what we need most. We must be far off before morning, or they will catch us. Jess sat still for a moment, thinking. I will take both loaves of bread, she thought, and Violet's little work bag. Henry has his knife, and all of father's money is in my pocket. She counted it in the faint light of the moon. It amounted to nearly $4. You will have to carry Benny until he wakes up, whispered Jess. If we wake him up here, he might cry. She touched Violet as she spoke. Shh, Violet, come. We are going to run away, she whispered. The little girl sat up obediently. What shall I do? She said, light as a breath. Carry this, said Jess, handing her the work bag and a box of matches. Jess tiptoed over to the tin box on the table, drew out the 2 loaves of bread and slipped them into the laundry bag. Then she dropped 2 small clean towels and a cake of soap into the bag. All right, pick him up, she said to Henry. Henry lifted the sleeping child carefully. Jess took the laundry bag, turned the door knob softly, opened the door slowly, and they tiptoed out in a ghostly procession. As Jess shut the door, she listened to the baker shop woman's heavy snoring for a moment. Then they picked their way without a sound to the country road. She may wake up before morning, whispered Henry, so we must walk our fastest. If we can get to another town before they find out we are gone, they won't know which way to go. Jess agreed. They all walked briskly along in the faint moonlight. How far can you carry Benny? Asked Violet. Oh, at least a mile, said Henry confidently, although his arms were beginning to ache. 5-year-old Benny was a fat, healthy boy. I think we could all walk faster if we woke him up, said Jess decidedly. We could each take his hand and almost carry him along. Henry knelt by the roadside and set the little fellow against his knee. Come, Benny, you must wake up now and walk, said Jess coaxingly. Go away, Benny mumbled with his eyes shut, trying to lie down again. Let me try, Violet offered softly. Say, Bunny, you know, little Cinnamon Bear ran away to find a nice warm bed for the winter. Now, you play you are Cinnamon, and Henry and Jess will help you along and we will find a bed. Violet's little plan worked. Benny was ever willing to listen to Violet's wonderful stories about Cinnamon Bear. He stood up bravely and marched along, yawning, while his big brother and sister almost swung him between them. Not a soul passed them on the country road. All the houses were dark and still. When the first faint streaks of morning light showed in the sky, all 4 children were almost staggering with sleep. I must go to sleep, Henry murmured Jess. Little Benny was asleep already, and Henry was carrying him again. The first place we come to, then, panted Henry. Violet kept her eyes open. Finally, she caught Henry's sleeve. Couldn't we make that haystack do? She asked, pointing across a newly mown field. Indeed, we could, said Henry thankfully. What a big, enormous one it is. It is far away from the farmhouse and barn too, echoed Jess. The sight gave them new courage. They climbed over 2 stone walls, got across a brook somehow with the heavy child, and arrived at the haystack. Henry laid his brother down and stretched his aching arms, while Jess began to burrow into the haystack. Violet did the same. Here is his nest, said Jess sleepily, taking her head out of the deep round hole she had made. Henry lifted the child into the opening. He curled up instantly, smiling in his sleep. Jess then dug out a similar burrow for herself. We can stay here just as long as we like, can't we, Henry? She murmured, digging with her eyes shut. We sure can, replied Henry. You are an old brick, Jess. Get in, and I will pull the hay over the hole. Violet was already curled up in her nest, which was hidden completely. Then Henry wriggled himself backward into the hay cock, pulled a handful of hay over his head, and laid his head on his arms. Just then he heard a heavy voice say, Now then, lass, get along. He heard the rumble of a milk wagon coming down a nearby lane, and he realized thankfully that they had hidden themselves just before the first farmer in the neighborhood had set off toward Middlesex with his milk cans. He will say he didn't meet us coming this way, thought Henry, so they will hunt for us the other way. That will give us time to cover a lot more ground. He dropped asleep just as the roosters all over the valley began to crow. So this was all about this chapter. Thank you.